Hi, my name is Michael.G and have another video for you today. And today's video is that our feminized society today mirrors Elijah's time and Jesus's day. Now, this is really interesting. First, let's talk about what happened in Elijah's time. So Elijah was a man of God. He's the one that fought the 450 false prophets on top of Mount Carmel. When Elijah brought down the fire from heaven, it took the sacrifice, and the false prophets were all killed. Okay, so that's what happened on Mount Carmel. That's pretty quick. Now, Elijah was killed the false prophets of Jezebel. Jezebel, you probably heard that name before, Jezebel. Jezebel is the wife of Ahab. Okay? Ahab, today you would consider a very weak man. He's a simp. And Jezebel is the boss babe. Now I'm going to probably do another full video on just the boss babe and some of her attributes. But what happened at the time that when Elijah killed all the false prophets, the boss babe, Jezebel, threatened Elijah. Now remember, Elijah's a man of God, right? So that's a big deal. And the heads of the false prophets were taken off. Jezebel said that his head would be cut off. And what did Elijah do? He fled. He fled. So this is not his finest moment. See, at that moment, by fleeing, it was the state, because remember, Ahab was king of Israel. Now we're probably going to go into his death, because that's a pretty funny story too. I love the way he died. And I love the way she died. You know, the way she died is the best. And she's also spoken about in the New Testament. So we have the same parallel with today. So he fled from her face. So he fled out of fear. And, you know, these boss babe women that hold power, she wanted to kill the prophet of God, the masculine. The feminine was ruling, even though she's the wife to the king, but Ahab was a simp. Okay, so we got this part now. Now let's go into the New Testament. In the New Testament, in the New Testament, Elijah is John the Baptist. Okay? And why is that important? Because God said in Malachi 4 that he would send Elijah. Now, the Jews did not know this, but Jesus did tell the apostles. So the apostles did know, and this is a big deal. So John the Baptist equals Elijah. So that ties in the Old Testament, Elijah, to the New Testament, John the Baptist. Now I've said this in another video about how John the Baptist, being Elijah, was killed by two feminists. And let's go back to who's running the show here. Herod. And these Herods, the first, the second, the third, they're going in the dynasty. And Herod had a wife named Herodias. And Herodias has a daughter. Now again, I covered this in another video, but let me say it again. John the Baptist spoke the truth. He said Herod should not take Philip's wife. So Herod took the wife. Herod took the wife of Philip, who is Herodias, and now that was severed, and now Herodias belongs to Herod. This is what threw John the Baptist in prison, because he spoke the truth. He said you shouldn't take your brother's wife. So now, from today's point of view, that's a monkey branching. So now, these women that do monkey branching, it's not, it's so messed up. So now we know that she's monkey branching. That's number one. So what happened with John the Baptist with Herod? So she was mad at John the Baptist. She pimped out her daughter to dance for Herod. Herod got excited. He got excited. And after he got excited, he said to her, I'll give you up to half the kingdom. So let's see how dumb men are when they let the woman go against better judgment. Because Herod himself kind of he had respect and fear for John the Baptist at the same time. So he didn't want to chop off his head, but he did it because when when the daughter went back to Herodias, she said, "Have John the Baptist's head on a platter." That's what she asked for. She could have had half the kingdom. So you could see the viciousness nature of a woman that's a monkey brancher. Viciousness. Not only vicious, but she was scheming. She also was scheming. So it's not enough that she could have told the daughter you could have half the kingdom. No, you had to get something petty as the head of John the Baptist, because the head is what speaks the truth. This is a feminized society. The women had a committee. This is democracy. You see, when you have a democracy, you're really having a fascism at its core. I know that doesn't sound like it's the case, but it really is. Because, you see, democracy is the mob and quick decisions. A republic is what the United States is. Republic, democracy, kind of like a little bit of both, an amalgamation of both, but it's not a democracy. But look what happens when you have a democracy. And remember, who's screaming democracy, democracy? Don't you hear it in the news all the time? Democracy, 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 democracy. Yeah? And it's corporate fascism, because usually democracy comes into corporate fascism. So what happened? Herodias pimped out the daughter. So they used sex as a weapon. Tell me this is not today. Women use sex as a weapon. Some idiot, and I'm going to say it just like this. When some woman does this false rape accusation and a guy gets locked up, that's sex as a weapon. Because the women use this, were not brought up properly. They're scheming. This is our day today. Look at what happened in during the Antifa protests. Everybody was, oh, it's okay, everything's okay. Summer of love, yeah. Chad, remember Chaz? That place, Summer of Love, while everything was burning down. Right? Everything was burning down, and it was the summer of love. But January 6th was a problem, because that was when you could say the more conservative or the more masculine part of our society said the people in charge are not right. Something's wrong with the people in charge. The feminine energy wants to protect the head. The big state, the daddy state. The state is the head of the feminine. Let me get back to this. Okay, so remember, the feminine is a torso. She doesn't have the arms and the legs. Instead of going to the man, okay, to be together with him, she doesn't go to the man. She likes the state. That's why the state is mostly feminine energy, and the state is also the Democrats. Okay? State is feminine energy and Democrats. Same thing that happened during Herod's rule. He bowed down to the woman who clearly, because of sex as the weapon, because of them scheming against them, and a lot of women that get into powerful men. Remember, to get to these powerful men, they have to sacrifice the heart. And remember this that I had shown you, had shown this image. What happens when the woman uses the physical body and these fake emotions and feelings? It doesn't have a strong foundation. These women are very twitchy, just like they are today, very woke. You could say something about them and they come after you. John the Baptist said that you shouldn't marry your brother's wife. That's what he said. She lost her mind. And that is what we have today with the woke movement. This woke, you can't say nothing. They're censoring speech. How much more speech needs to be censored than cutting off the head of the man, John the Baptist? John the Baptist, the man. Now, let's go to Jesus. So, what happened with Jesus? Who crucified Jesus? The Jews. How did they do that? They were pressing Pilate. And what else they do with Pilate? They were going to go behind his back and go above him. This is a very backbite. They were going to go above him to Caesar and tell Caesar, hey, look, this is feminine energy. And not only that, when Pilate brought Jesus before the crowd, the committee, the mob, the Democrats, what'd they say? What'd they say? Let's take a look. Now, this is really important too, because a lot of people think that Jesus is the king of the Jews. Jesus never said he was king of the Jews. This was attributed to him by the Jews because Jesus called them devils in John 8:44. So they had to find a way to get Jesus tied into them. That's why you have this nonsense today, Judeo-Christian, straight up garbage. So, let's see what happened here. Pilate's talking. We'll go one verse before. Pilate, therefore... okay, so let's see what they're doing now. From this time, Pilate was seeking to release Jesus. And the Jews were crying out. They were crying out, saying, If this one thou mayest release, thou art not a friend of Caesar. Everyone making himself a king doth speak against Caesar. Pilate, therefore, having heard this word, brought Jesus without, and sat down upon the tribunal to a place called Pavement, and in Hebrew Gabbatha, and it was the preparation of the Passover, and as it were the 6th hour, and he saith to the Jews. Now, Pilate's trying to get out of this. He doesn't want to deal with this. Lo, your king. Okay? Now, look at this now. What did they say? And they cried out, Take away, crucify him. So by the mouth of the Jews, okay, they wanted to crucify him. Pilate said, He's your king. Pilate saith to them, Your king shall I crucify? The chief priests answered, We have no king except Caesar. Caesar is the state. He is the state head, like the president. So, when people say Jesus is the king of the Jews themselves, what they say? He's not our king. The state is our king. Then, therefore, now this is very important. He, this is Pilate, delivered him, Jesus, up to them that he may be crucified, and they took Jesus and led away. By the way, this them is Jewish soldiers of Herod and the chief priests, Jewish soldiers. So, Jesus, the Lord of lords, the King of kings, okay? Heaven and earth, the man, the I am, Alpha and Omega, a committee seek to crucify him. A committee. This is a feminine type of energy. Pilate handed him over to the committee. What's really interesting about that is that Elijah in the Old Testament, Elijah in the Old Testament found out the false prophets. Okay? He found out the false prophets. Jesus, when he was on the cross, certain people thought that Jesus said Elijah. That certain people, someone ran with the hyssop of vinegar. And I said this before in another place. This is how amazing everything comes out. This has been hidden for 1,000 years plus. When they thought Jesus said Elijah, someone ran with the hyssop of vinegar to silence him, because they were worried that Elijah might come. Now, the apostles already knew that John the Baptist was Elijah. So who would know Elijah's name and importance? Only the Pharisee Jews. The Pharisee Jews would know. And this guy with the hyssop was a Jewish soldier. Okay? And it says that he's a soldier in the book of, in Luke 23, something, 35:23 or 23:35. It says it there. That the person with the hyssop of vinegar. This time we have today, 2022, it's the same type of people. Feminized men like Ahab, are doing what? They are putting in bonds. Toxic males, as they are considered. Toxic men today. They're saying men are toxic. They're giving them a lot of soy. They're dumbing down the men. They're trying to eliminate the men. This is from 2,000 years ago. Elijah had the same thing with Jezebel. And by the way, someone might say, well, Michael, maybe I'm just like going a little too crazy about this. Okay, let's see what God says about Jezebel in the New Testament, and we'll see how that works out. Okay, here we go. All right. And the messenger, this is 18, this is Revelation 2:18. And to the messenger of the assembly of Thyatira write, these things saith the Son of God, who is having his eyes as a flame of fire, and his feet like to fine brass. I have known thy works and love and ministration and faith, and thy endurance and thy works, and the last more than the first. But, I love when you hear but in the Bible. But I have against thee a few things, that thou dost suffer the woman Jezebel, who is calling herself a prophetess, to teach and to lead astray my servants to commit whoredom and idol sacrifices to eat. And I did give to her a time that she might reform from her whoredom, and she did not reform. Lo, I will cast her into a couch. A couch? The casting couch? Sounds interesting, right? Into a couch. The casting couch. And those committing adultery with her into the great tribulation, if they may not repent of their works. And her children I will kill in death, and no shall all the assemblies that I am he who is searching the reins and hearts, and I will give to you to each according to your works. Now, why reins and hearts? Let's go here for a second. Why is it so much? The reins. What does the guy that that's sitting on a horse doing? He's sitting on the horse. This is the head of the horse or whatever. I know it's a horrible picture, but what am I going to do? It's got the bit in its mouth, and he holds the reins. The reins. What are we talking about? The reign of God. Of God. And that is in truth. And the rein is holding the head. And what else? The heart. Right? The heart. You see, the women, the Jezebels, and those with the Jezebels lack heart. They don't have a heart. We can also see this with Saul, the first king of Israel. Right? This is who the committee of people wanted. And you know how they consider Saul in the Bible? When he went to go anoint Saul, he says, goodlier from shoulders upward. He is goodlier from shoulders upward of all the men. This is like a Chad. That's who Saul was. And Saul was so insecure. He was so insecure as Chad. Now, what about David? David, what's up with David? David has the heart of God. Heart. Not the head. Not the head. The heart. Saul is the head. This is what people make decisions with. And it's all against the truth that God goes through. In fact, this is so funny. And I've said this in other videos too, but it's just amazing. So let's talk about David. When David went to be anointed. So David, 1 Samuel. Okay. Old iPad. So Samuel was the priest, and he went to go anoint David. And David is a man after my own heart. Okay, David. All right, 1 Samuel. Oh, geez, come on. 16:13. Yeah. All right, forget it. We'll do it on the phone. Having technical difficulties. So we'll go to David. It's a really funny story. Okay, David. All right, so we're going to go where David first comes. And Samuel doth that which, okay, this is 4, this is 16:4. We don't have much time. And Samuel doth that which Jehovah hath spoken, and cometh to Bethlehem to the elders of the city, trembled to meet him. One saith, he come in peace, and he saith, peace, Jehovah. Okay, so, all right. Ye have come with me to sacrifice, and he sanctifieth Jesse and his sons, and calleth them to the sacrifice. And it cometh to pass in their coming in that he saith to Eliab. Now Eliab is the first son. He is the man. He is the first son of Jesse. Okay, Eliab. Eliab is Chad, and you're going to find out right now. You know, this is Chad. Look how funny this is. And he sang, okay, Jet, and it cometh to pass in their coming in that he seeth Eliab, and saith, oh, surely before Jehovah his anointed. Like, Samuel is gushing over the first son. And Jehovah saith unto Samuel, and here it is. This is why this world is so doomed with what we consider important. Look not unto his appearance and unto the height of his stature, for I have rejected him. So 6 foot tall Chad, 6 foot tall Chad, appearance, hot. God said he rejected him. You got nothing coming. Chad has nothing coming. This is really important. And unto the height of his stature I have rejected him, for not as a man seeth. You see, man sees with their eyeballs, for man looketh at the eyes. Not just eyes. Man looketh at the identity, and Jehovah looketh at the heart. See, he has no heart. He just said it, no heart. He looketh at the heart. He dismissed him. And Jesse calleth unto Abinadab, and causeth him to pass by before Samuel. And he saith, also on this Jehovah hath not fixed. And Jesse causeth Shammah to pass, and saith, also this Jehovah hath not fixed. And Jesse causeth 7 of his sons, 7 Chads. 7 Chads he caused to pass in front of Samuel. And Samuel saith unto Jesse, are the young men finished? And he saith, yet hath been left the youngest. And lo, he delighteth himself among the flock. And Samuel saith unto Jesse, send and take him, for we do not turn round till the coming in hither. And he sendeth and bringeth in, and ruddy and beauty of the eyes, identity, and good appearance. And Jehovah saith, rise, anoint him, for this is he. Okay, let me expand on this for a second. So what do we have? We have a house. We have in the house 7 Chads. Okay, we have 7 Chads in the house. And who came? The high priest of God. Okay, so Jesse showed his 7 Chads. He didn't even bring David out. He didn't even bring David into the house. Because Jesse was thinking that surely he's going to want one of these. And Eliab was the first one. In another place in the Bible, Eliab was a coward too. Because he couldn't fight Goliath. And he was actually mad at David when David showed up. Because this is what happens when you have the power of the Spirit and you meet the Chads and these guys. They don't have the power of God in the heart. God looketh not at the stature. That means he don't care how tall you are, and he don't care how good looking you are. This is a really big thing. This is just the opposite of what mankind looks at. David, he looked at the heart. So you could see that Saul had the head. He had the will. David had the heart. David wasn't even brought in the house. So what people think is important, usually God hates. Okay? The worldly thinking God hates. Because the worldly thinking now, what did they do? They're bringing up the feminine and they're marginalizing the masculine. And by marginalizing the masculine with these committees, we have the same type of, we have the wrong people in charge. And that's why God now is going to overturn, like he said to Jonah, but here they're going to rise in the judgment, but they're not going to listen. And this is what's going on. And this is why today is very similar to what happened to Elijah and very simple to what happened to John the Baptist and Jesus. The committee of feminism and weak men. God bless.